Now I'm going to imagine this entire conversation. There is just a frog wrestling a rug.
So, if you are still here, sound off in the chat. It was great to have you. I know that these streams are very long, but I think that they're just the right length now that we're doing like 3 hours-ish of gaming and a 1 hour-ish of talk at the end. I think that's a good proportion. That was an excellent suggestion from my players. And so let's talk a little bit about that, because there's a lot to go over there. Any reactions to anything before we start? Just round robin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go? You can go.
By all means, call you out.
Okay. My first thought, and I'm sorry, Jem, but I gotta give you like a little bit of a point for saying no in the number of times and in the strict voice that made me think Lemon Pledge.
No.
No. No more Lemon Pledge. I'm sorry. I could not stop laughing. I had to mute myself.
If anybody
then I
watching
have
has any
done my
questions or
job.
comments, by the way, put them up there.
Do we have any
saying, Jen?
previous ones?
I didn't see any, but if a moderator
no
would like.
questions in chat.
Yeah.
This is definitely an episode that's going to need unpack. Like these, I knew that like everything that we're doing right now requires a lot of unpacking because of the kind of story we're in and the kind of characters and what's going on. But did I expect to end this particular session crying and possessed by a ghost?
A dwarf ghost of all goddamn
dwarf
things.
ghost. Yeah, the thing is she. And I did this on purpose. Like, she definitely, her two favorite enemies, she's literally in the middle of it. It's one of the reasons that she is there is because she knows about dwarves and she knows about orcs. But she wasn't expecting this. And I may have to, depending on how this goes and what her, like, I'm going to have to think about whether that changes what her favorite enemy is.
Right? Getting a crash course in empathy for dwarves.
Because yeah, this is something that may change some of the way she thinks about things, because this is basically forcing her to look at things from a literally a different perspective.
From two different perspectives. Like
yeah.
You got Durgadin streaming now, this guy.
Yeah. So that's really cool. I like emotionally hitting gameplay. I do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea how the ghost fight was gonna go. It could have just turned into like someone getting possessed and then the party having to fight it themselves, which might have been pretty fun. But I think it worked out really well the way it did. The moment you said you might be willing to negotiate, I figured that was the time to throw in the, well, okay, so it tries to possess you, but you've got a chance to direct this a little bit. And I really want to give you, Jen, specifically a big old shout out, because that was such a great scene overall, and everyone contributed to it, but you were right there. And this was sort of again, mostly I had no idea how the ghost fight was going to go, but this ended up being an excellent, like, bringing Kreitha to be a real part of the party rather than just someone y'all found at some point.
And I really felt like that I wasn't going to be able to do much of anything during the ghost fight, because I'm like, crap, aside from these new arrows that I don't know whether they're going to work, I literally don't have the ability to. I figured they would. I also figured that it was because of her reaction and because of being prone and stuff that I need to give a couple of rounds before she thinks about the arrows.
Totally. Have a great one, Kisrel.
You know, trying to it's, and Kreitha was already kind of reaching. I find a lot of characters that like to reach their brink, and I think that that's this whole set, like this whole particular module. It seems to be all about taking characters and pushing them. I
have been attempting myself to push that particular theme, yes, and the fact that you chose dwarves and orcs as your favorite enemies is incredibly pertinent, obviously, because those are the two that are fighting. So you're pitting your two enemies against one another, and I can imagine there's some worldviews that are being challenged right now, as you were mentioning before. Jeff, you were about to say.
I was saying, like, throughout that fight, I was thinking about using disguise self and just have Calder take on the image of Durgadin, but I dismissed that plan because I don't speak Dwarven.
That definitely would have been interesting. I definitely would have allowed, at the very least, a deception check, and that very well could have finished this encounter as well.
It would have been an interesting Weekend at Bernie's situation with Charlotte attempting to feed you Dwarven and you being real bad at pronouncing it.
I had this horrible thought of like Laura blowing the whistle.
No. Not on Durgadin, no, please. Please no.
I could have like
So
bullshitted
bad.
my way too. We have guests here. Don't insult them.
Yeah, speak to me in the common tongue so that all these might hear you. You know, something like that.
Yeah.
So I could have bullshitted it, but it worked out fine, and this was great.
I love.
Like it's
I like Calder's reaction too. Like we had that.
like the
Go ahead.
that emotional lurch of I watched my lord die in front of me and just like Calder's just, fuck. I have been dealing with enough today, and that was just the last straw for him.
Calder's emotions check out.
Karitha is
Like,
once she comes out of possession is going to again continue to be trying to figure out Lore, because Lore has is acting out of character for what Karitha knows.
Although Kreitha,
So that's going to be interesting.
Kreitha has been acting a little bit out of character as well in the last few minutes at least.
Kreitha's been acting out of character because we don't know what Kreitha's character is.
Fair. Absolutely fair.
But yeah, I love how Lore just switched over to the community and like coming together sort of sense of emotions, and then was presented with someone breaking down, crying, and grieving. And so, yeah, unlike Summer Lore, who might have like been standoffish in a corner somewhere, Autumn Lore thought to go to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys want to know this because I don't mind sharing it. But so when I originally rolled up Lore,
We'll put
did
in a spoiler
randomly-
warning right here. If it's a potential spoiler, if anybody who's viewing wants to mute for a little bit, you can.
It shouldn't be.
Okay, fair enough.
When I originally rolled her up, there are seasonal personality traits and flaws that because normally when you pick your background you get like personality traits and flaws and stuff. Some species have additional ones like whatever, but the summer personality trait that Lore got was you believe that direct confrontation is the best way to solve problems. But we're not here to do like let's toss dice and do some murder to each other, so we weren't able to do some murder to each other with Summer Lore. And caveat of the DM, it would have fixed a lot of problems if we just did some light
least for
murder.
Lore.
And like the flaw from Summer was also you're stubborn, let others change.
Not a great combo, but
Not a great
It's a
combo.
combo for sure, right?
no, it's a good combo to roleplay. Not a great combo to be traveling with.
Yeah. The autumn traits that I ended up catching was personality wise, if someone is in need, you never withhold aid.
Yes.
And the flaw is everyone is your friend or a potential friend, which does mean that I am going to likely be taking like the surprise condition in the first round of combat just in general, as I am going to just be trying to suss out people before like they need to attack me first. basically.
If the ghost had attempted to possess Lore, what would your reaction have been? Because it was on the possibilities list. But You have a patron, which means it's like a ghost would be able to suss out that you're probably one of the more stronger willed when it comes to charisma saves. But if it had attempted, what would Laura have done?
I'm going to quote C.S. Lewis here and say no one is ever told what would have happened.
We'll leave it open.
Okay, fair enough. I mean,
Because I don't know.
that's fair. So
Get awfully crowded in there.
Normally at this
I
point,
have like 6,000 characters. They're all talking.
normally at this point, and I'm going to say this for the VOD mainly, we would go ahead and go through any questions that were asked over the course of the stream, and if anybody had any questions for us, either in-game or out of game, we would go ahead and answer those here. We would also go ahead and acknowledge any new followers or subscribers here, of which we don't have any new ones this time around, so that's totally fine. We'll go ahead and move swiftly on to the next sort of structured bit of debrief that I like to do every single time. And we're already sort of talking about the game, but I would like each of my players to give me one thing in specific over the course of this game that they particularly had fun with, one scene or one action or something along those lines, and what is another player character specifically that they would like to give a little bit of credit to for extraordinary roleplay, or any other such thing. I have absolutely no idea which way to go first, so let's go ahead and start
Why don't you
with...
roll a die? Why don't we roll initiative?
I'll take out my big invisible green die. It's a D20, so 1 through... What?
Before we go this, I actually have a question.
What's that?
So Jeff,
Yes.
what is Calder's reaction? Because he's never seen Lore in anything that isn't spring or at this point summer.
I've never known Calder has never known a lore that wasn't on some base level hostile to him. He has no reason to suspect that this lore is different.
Spring Lore was not hostile to him.
You were still low key a bitch to Calder, and that's okay.
Standoffish.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's and that's...
So you're expecting at least that level of animosity.
Yeah, he doesn't have any, like, he doesn't know how your type of elf works. He doesn't know, kind of doesn't care. All because your actions to this date have been, let's needle and mock Calder for his failings, and he gets enough of that at home.
So
Calder's not going to be the first to engage again.
Yeah.
I think that it's difficult with Calder. It's like, I think there's so much that's happened that his reaction would always be colored through the animosity that you two have been sharing since Clarion's
the
death.
pace of traumatic events in this module has been pretty high. I rolled a natural 20, so whatever that means. I was going to have 16
Whoever
through
was
20.
going to be the whoever you were listing last goes first.
Yes, from the way 16 through 20 was going to be Gale. I just wanted to note that I, for the very first time on my physical die, get a natural 20. So yes, Gale, go ahead and tell us something that you had fun with and someone that you would like to nod.
Well, speaking of natural 20s, getting that natural 20 on the history check. I don't know if you could tell from my reaction, that felt real good.
I believe the quote was something
I think your
along the
words
lines of-
were,
Yeah?
give
Tell
me
me
all
who
the
this
information, you bitch.
Yeah,
But
it was
I-
something like that, yes.
It was tell me who this motherfucker is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was tell me who this motherfucker is.
Yeah, it was just, I love doing the flirby side of character creation and saying that Lore is a history nerd and saying that Lore studies dwarven history in specific and then having that
Charlotte.
pay off mechanically.
Yeah.
Charlotte. I always confuse the two of us somehow.
Why?
My brain has...
We look
It's
nothing
your
alike.
character.
No, but we've been paired off so many times. I think Charlotte and Lore. Speaking of which,
Charlotte.
the nod I wanted to give would be to everyone, but I'm going to pick out Lore for at the beginning of the really difficult conversation of Lore knowing that a certain amount of the jig is up, that Charlotte knows more now than she did before, and navigating that into not giving a real answer. Like, I liked seeing where you went with that scene.
I have no memory of that at all.
If only there was
Remember
a time.
how I said earlier, I say words and then they're gone?
If only there's a time
You'll
that we
see
could
it in
get
the VOD.
together and rewatch, like at 10 a.m. on Saturday. You should totally join us. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Or at any time if you can't make it on Saturday because the
now
VOD
that
or
I'm-
the VOD.
Now that I'm no longer in Phoenix and thus guided through my every action through caring for another person, I just might.
That would be awesome.
Hey.
Jen, what's something you had fun with? What's someone you want to nod?
I mean, I had fun with a whole lot of this particular. I mean, I loved doing the ghost thing. I really had fun with Kretha's reaction to Lore. I was looking forward to that. And I have to actually give it up to Lore for give it up to M for Lore's reaction back, and that was just lots of fun, like through the door and like
Pop culture reference.
like Kretha's just like, but you were a bitch, like,
Just like you are.
Yeah.
yeah.
Kretha in very blunt language. What is this weird thing that your mystical magical elf is doing? And the elf's like, what do you mean?
And I really loved the whole, the general realization that Charlotte doesn't see it, right? Because Charlotte doesn't see anything. So it's got to be like every single time that Lord changes seasons, like I'm sure it's
Charlotte's the last to know.
at some point, though, Charlotte's got to be able to pick up on nonverbal cues and verbal cues.
Oh, yeah.
But,
She eventually figures it out.
Oh, that makes sense now. And that was the same thing that happened when Lord transitioned to Summer, and you made that animation specifically, or that comic specifically of, oh, you're in Summer now, aren't you? Yeah. Now everything you just did makes a lot of sense, and I thought the relationship between your two characters are just spectacular.
And I love how Kretha, like, there's no reason she would have known an Eladrin before now.
No,
so
of course not.
She has no context.
Eladrin aren't known for going to, what's the name of Prison Island?
Chult.
Yeah, Eladrin aren't known for traveling to Chult for sightseeing.
And like, I'll be honest, Kretha probably doesn't know more than one or two elves at all. Like, this is definitely like eye-opening.
Can we do Chult? Chult sounds like the island version of a very large dump.
It really
kinda is.
It kind of is. It's actually one of my favorite set pieces in Faerun because it's a giant dumpster fire of an island.
But like it like audibly sounds like that. It sounds
Well, that's
like
why her
It's a
whole
swamp
family.
with
That's why
dinosaurs
everybody
and
left.
the undead is its primary life form.
Yeah, that's why they left, and they're in the swamps on the. They're no longer on the island. They got out of the island, and it's a whole set of goblin. It's basically goblin tribe that was from Chult and is now like part of like the swamps on the mainland, but is still kind of pretty separate.
gross.
M, what is something you had fun with? What's someone you want to nod?
So I've said this like 2 or 3 times about like Civ brain.
Yeah, that's fair.
Give me like go to Jeff. I'll come up with something.
Absolutely. Jeff, what's something you had fun with? What's someone you want to nod?
I'm always amused when little snippets of Calder's trauma come to the surface, and no one asks about it, and that's great because it just lets him continue to do this Calder thing of being broody and angsty, and that's fine. But
I feel like you should be, if you were in an anime, you would play the cello, and you'd always keep it on your back.
a little bit but then again, if this were an anime, like a lot of it would be a lot more hyper dramatic and hyper violent.
To be fair, Kretha was busy at the time.
That's only if it's a shonen anime. If it's a shoujo anime, it wouldn't be.
I did enjoy the vocalizing of the reason for Calder's upset of that. Okay, I'm in a terrible tomb with invisible dwarves and a dragon. Oh, and then this bitch shows up. And I loved the catty moment where I got to say, Charlotte, Stinky, giant frog. You need to get moving.
Oh, you guys didn't get. I didn't get to put my petty alert out. I have a petty alert for you.
Oh,
Great, perfect.
I love it.
Yeah, that would have been great. But yeah, like that's Calder and like weirdly, like if they ever, I'm like of the personal private theory that if like Calder and Lore ever get past whatever their issues are, they would probably be very good friends. But they both have this giant chip on each other on their shoulders toward each other.
I mean, that's definitely an option, but
They have a it's clear that they have a teasing element that only real friends ever have. But at the moment they are being very outwardly hostile to each other, and Calder doesn't process it well. But I did specifically enjoy like Kretha coming to Calder to be the voice of reason against someone that he has done nothing but express his frustration at.
I know. That's like, I don't know what I was expecting, but
And it's like, are you freaking out? I'm not freaking out. I'm just really worried about X, Y, Z, and the way out is gone. And it's like, okay, well, I could freak out like you, or I can describe our situation. What do you want?
I don't need a situation to be described.
Yeah,
I
Calder
know
doesn't
it.
like as far as I can tell, like the way I'm interpreting everything is that Calder is fucking freaked the fuck out, but that won't help. So he's tamping it the hell down.
Yeah, she noticed. You remember? She's like, yeah, she was talking about your compartmentalizing, but
That's true.
Yeah, he's like he compartmentalizes really, really well, which is something you only ever see in people who are very adept at regulating their trauma.
I'd like to give a nod to each person because I saw a lot of really great like players playing to their characters. Like in this session, I learned more about the characters in this session than perhaps in any single session up to this point. I loved seeing Laura's immediate change of attitude, and M, you are great at turning that switch. It's not the first time you've done it, but I want to call it out specifically. You chose a concept that would require radical changes in personality very quickly, and you're just absolutely nailing that. I love Calder's emo kid kind of vibe that he's got going, and I love that it's not something he's doing because some people do it for the aesthetic, and he's clearly not. Like he's actually trying to deal with a whole bunch of issues. And he knows when he needs to get involved and when he should just back off and let people who are maybe more maybe have healthier coping mechanisms to help deal with the problem at hand. I gotta hand it to Olivia for just really sticking with the blind mage theme and being like, will someone please just point a direction and a distance
verbally?
Can someone just say that it's this far in front, like people actually think in polar coordinates?
Yeah.
Like
it's
anybody
not that
other
hard,
than
guys.
Swoops.
Come on.
Like anybody other than Swoops can just, from a third-party perspective, give you polar coordinates on direction and distance. And I love how you're just like, you've got this ball of acid in your hand, and I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna, and it's great. Like. I really enjoy the commitment when you said you were going to play a blind character that has given you some disadvantages and also some advantages, right? That also gave you a resistance or an immunity, that is, to the frighten effect by the ghost, which gave you a chance to fight it off. Yeah.
Side note, even if she could see, if we weren't walking around with torches, it's not like the ghost would have affected her.
That's true. That's exactly
cool.
true. That's what I mean.
Like, even if it gave off a bit of light, it still wouldn't have worked.
So I was, in addition to like wild personality swings with Lore, I don't know if anybody caught it. I'm assuming you probably did. The way that she fights is different.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I was gonna say, you didn't summon the sword, you did put the armor on yourself.
Yeah.
It's a lot
Yes.
more defensive and hesitant. And I
Well,
wasn't sure if that was just
hesitant, I
against the
only had one
ghost.
action.
Yeah.
And all of my bonus actions are like, see target. Ghost not here.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Ghost
That's
I also
also
really
true.
did like.
I noticed
Can't
that
go.
someone said something about underwater combat in the chat when
I did.
what did you say? I didn't actually see it.
I said a preview of potential underwater dragon fight.
Yes, indeed. It very
The
well
ghost.
could be. Because if the dragon decides to fight you, it's probably going to be very much like breath weapon into the water to try to recharge.
Gone.
Yeah, good times.
Stinky's like, I'm amphibious.
Oh yeah.
But,
Speaking
like-
of which, if Stinky does die to the rug and we have to spend an hour bringing him back, then Charlotte said also, I'm trying to remind my future self, spend an hour turning swoops into an aquatic creature. Since we know we're fighting a
an
dragon.
amphibious creature because we're not going to be aquatic
That one.
just yet.
That one, amphibious.
Now
Side note.
go ahead.
Flying newt.
Shit, I
He's
lost
an
it. Never
axolotl.
mind.
That'd be cute.
So the biggest nod that I have to give tonight though is to Jen, because the possession scene and all of that and your responses were fantastic. I did mention in our off game conversation that there were some difficult themes that were going to come up. I hope that I danced around them well enough to avoid any triggers. But your reaction, in addition to excellent dice throws, right? They worked together. Allowed you to basically solo that encounter. And like I said, it was really great to, the moment we get to know Kreetha, the first thing we know is that she hates orcs. No, the first thing we know is that she lost her band or her companions or her
That she loves her
troop
frog.
to the roper. The second thing we know is that she hates orcs, and the third thing that we know is that she hates dwarves. And all three of those things crashed down all at once on, what's this, your third game playing this character, and your response was
She was
absolutely
panicking.
excellent. And
She
none
was-
of that was planned. It evolved naturally through the course of the combat, and I have to give you just a huge amount of props for rolling with that, especially since, again, it was dealing with some very, very difficult feelings in some very, very difficult situations.
I loved the line you said near the beginning when you started responding to the ghost, and you said, like, it's like I've been telling everybody since we got here. And you started going into, like, it's not your fault. Sometimes you have to make hard choices. But I liked the Kreetha's like, oh, this is like what I've been telling Calder. This is like what I've been talking about with
I know.
Meepo.
Like, literally, I realized as I was saying it, I'm like, I've literally been saying this as Kreetha every session.
But yeah, she
that's
has
her
been.
theme. Yeah, those
She-
literal same words.
She has been dealing with people grieving since she joined the party, and this was
Yeah.
just an extreme version of that.
Well,
Poor
and-
Kreetha, she is not a therapist. Ah.
I read a webcomic called Questionable Content, where
yes.
a robot comes into this robot repair shop and ends up just like treating the repair person like a therapist. And it's so good. It's very good. Questionablecontent.net, free
Yelp.
plug. It's not a sponsor, sadly. I think we would have to have a Warforged for them to sponsor us. But
But we can always ask him.
I do want to ask one other thing. So I
We'll
know,
text him right now. I don't care.
because I was super overwhelmed from work and then exhausted, that thing that I recorded for the beginning of the session, I didn't get around to recording until about a half an hour before the session started. So I didn't have time to type out subtitles. But I gave you the gist of it, and some of you were able to watch it on the second time through. I'm just curious on any reactions on how I'm doing with these weird off-brand sort of flash scenes.
I love the switchback between the voices. Like, I'm mostly just listening to it, and I love the switchback between voices very much.
Yeah.
There's a obvious, well done difference between the characters as you're speaking.
I just want to know is after we finish the Forge of Fury, if we're gonna go play those characters real quick.
I am not against the idea. That's why I'm
Because I'm
staying
down.
that's why I'm staying as vague as I can, because I do think it would be really cool for you all to pick characters and go. That could be a lot of fun. It does mean playing pre-generated characters rather than making up your own.
That's fine.
But it could be a lot of fun. I'm just saying. I don't know. We'll put that in a back pocket, and we'll hold on to that as maybe a special later. But for now, yes, we have. Let's see.
Yeah,
Is there anything else?
I said last time I had my theory about what Barnabas and the gang are often doing, and I still think that I'm still holding to that theory of what I think they're trying to get.
Yeah, and I lifted this. Like, again, I have not actually read the modules, so I'm just lifting the very basics of the module Dragon Heist. I know that the goldfish thing is a thing. I know that it's kind of so maybe we'll run Dragon Heist and we'll end up incorporating it like this. We'll see.
I'm not saying that I didn't immediately think of a very specific TV movie when I listened to it the first time, because the plot is the same of what was discussed.
Except it was a lion, right? What was the movie?
Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo.
I have not seen that since I saw it in the theater.
Let me give you a really quick rundown of the entire plot.
Sure.
Guy gets hired to watch this dude who is a gigolo's house, right? Dude has big ass fish tank with a lionfish in it.
Yep,
this is
I'm
the
remembering
dude's
this.
favorite fucking fish. Within like half an hour or less of the movie, this fish fucking dies.
That
Okay?
whole case, that whole
Hilarity ensues.
thing.
That hilarity is now the house sitter has decided that he needs to pose as this dude being a gigolo to get money to buy a new lionfish.
and the enclosure and stuff, because the whole thing comes crashing down.
Okay, well that's the lionfish is what matters.
Yes.
Because it's the expensive part. Like, yes, but the lionfish is the thing that matters.
I know.
Okay?
It's just
They get it. No, they get it. There's like a romance subplot, because of course there is, because it's a comedy. They get it. And then the fish dies again as he's on the way from the airport. So he has to run quick by and pick up another one.
can confirm fish will do that.
But it's literally just like, the dude's fish died, we need to fix it. That is the plot.
Yes.
I mean,
That is
of
the
the
plot.
entire
Yes,
movie.
Which is beautiful.
I mean, there is one more parallel between the two, seeing as Echo dances half naked for his career. So, like, there is a bit more.
There is a gigolo involved.
Echo
Oh,
Becco,
man.
the
No,
male courtesan. I don't know. It does not quite scan.
Just Echo. It's fine. But yeah, like, I'm sorry, but it is exactly the same plotline.
It's so funny. I love it.
My guess is that we have probably one more session in the module proper, depending on how things go. It might be 2.
It's possible. Like my thinking is that if it goes anything like today's pace, it will probably deal with the rest of this portion of the Citadel within the next session. But then we'll drop like pretty unceremoniously into the Dragon Lair. So,
Yeah.
That's entirely possible, and it might end up.
Obviously, there's some funeral stuff that's gotta happen.
Right? I don't think that can happen this time. In this, I think we need to promise to do it.
It's
Get the
so
ghost to
ironic
leave.
that now it's my turn to carry a dead body.
Yeah, that's right.
That is a theme that we've got going here, is laying the dead to rest.
Yeah, I think we need to promise that we'll do it enough so that the ghost leaves, and then we'll do it when we come back. Because I don't think we can do a whole fucking dwarven funeral while we're trying to hide from the Dwerger and find a way out before the army gets in. Like, I just don't think we have enough time for a funeral, people.
Hey, here's Summer lore out real quick, okay? Okay, here's Summer lore out real quick. Summer lore says genocide
Of the orcs?
of the Dwagar.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the Dwarger that you talked to implied that there are more on the way. Just like the orcs have more on the way.
I mean,
Right,
yeah, but we could also like make some good heads on sticks that look like orcs did it real easy. That ain't hard. We've seen them already.
You know, maybe it's a good thing Summer Lore is not here right now.
I'm just saying, it's a very
Hands
obvious
on
way to
sticks
deal with
and
this
clap
problem.
them.
We're
How many
just
hands
about
do we have now?
we're just about wrapping up here. We've got a lot, but have you been collecting orc hands? I don't think you have.
No, the last time we got them was when the drow gave us hints.
Gave us a bunch of hands. That's true. We'll figure that out when we figure it out.
Yeah.
It's in the book.
Yeah, we've got it. It's no problem.
Check my inventory.
Before we sign off for the evening, I'm going to go ahead and give each of you, except for Gale, who is mysterious and unknowable, a chance to plug your social media and to plug any other streams or shows or whatever you do. And this time we're going to start with Jeff.
Yes, hello, I'm Jeff. I have an Instagram and a TikTok account for my drawings and my art. I just do a bunch of amateur sketches. You can find me at the Zagreus01 over Instagram or at Still Tired and Angry over on TikTok.
Fantastic. Em, why don't you plug your pluggables? Where can people find you and follow you?
I'm one silver key at everywhere. That's one silver key voice mask. Twitch, Instagram, Facebook page, Twitter, all that shit. I have secret projects happening.
Ooh.
But mostly I play video games and stuff. I think I'm working through Wilder Myth on Thursday, so that's the next time I'm streaming.
Fantastic. Jen, why don't you plug your pluggables, tell people where they can find you and follow you?
I'm the Swedish Geekball on Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Say that one more
And
time slowly so that the thing can pick it up.
The Swedish Geekball.
Perfect. Excellent.
And I will be streaming next on Thursday. It is my time to stream Dragon Age Inquisition as I play Jonathan, the bisexual disaster. Ooh.
He's so good.
And you can find me on Twitch and Twitter at MathDemigod. You can find the VODs of this particular stream at youtube.com/gamingmathematically, where I also put VODs of XCOM and Pokemon. Pokemon Go, soon to be Pokemon Unite as well. I'm going to make some videos about that. I'm currently working my way through XCOM 2 Long War of the Chosen mod on my own to make sure that I can actually beat it. And then once I actually beat it, I will go ahead and beat it again on stream with you folks who are my viewers and my subscribers and my friends will get to have themselves put into the game so that they can hopefully succeed and not die over and over and over and over and over again.
Unless you want to.
Unless you want to. I guess that's a possibility. Anyway, chat, if you're still here, say goodbye to the players. Players, please say goodbye to the chat.
No.
Absolutely fantastic. We will be here at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific. That's 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time right here on twitch.tv/mathdemigod for a live rewatch in which at least 3 of us will be here live commenting on our own performance and joking around and having a good time. Thank you very much for watching.
Let's go with at least 2 of us.
At least 2 of us. Fair enough.
There you go.
Depending on schedules and internet connections. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great evening. We'll see you next time. Oh, wait, when is next time? It's 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks,
Yes.
Okay, 2 weeks from today would be the 19th.
That would be the 19th.
Excellent. The 19th of October will be our next game, barring any disasters. Okay, last time, I promise.
Just shut it off.
Goodbye.